We're going to do just a four-part series here real quick on the basic four, learning how to use the airbrush. I'm using just a regular dual action airbrush with a bottom feed cup. I usually have the pressure set at about, for me, 45-50, which is a little bit high, but I'm used to it. But you can adjust the pressure, I would say no lower than 30 and no higher than 65 if you're using an airbrush. What I'm going to do, I'm going to be using just a standard T-cloth, which is just a heavy material, pretty much like a t-shirt. So this is the easiest part. When you're airbrushing, it's not like drawing. You have to remember to push down and pull back for your paint and your fluid. When you draw, you touch the surface, but when you're airbrushing, you actually keep it away from the surface. But there's four basic things you have to do when you're airbrushing, and that is the dot, the line, the flare line, and shading. This applies to illustrations, cartoons, portraits, the whole nine. So whether you're doing it on cloth, wood, canvas, automobiles, you still have to remember the basic four. I'm going to go ahead and show you the first one now. The first one is just a dot. When you're doing the dots, you'll actually push down and pull back. You don't just pull back as you start. You always push down first. We're going to do a series of dots here. Push down, pull back, push down, pull back, push down, pull back, push down, pull back, push down, pull back. It's actually almost effortless. It looks like you're just pushing down at one time, but it's not. You'll actually push down and pull back. When you pull back, you'll get the paint. Remember, the farther you pull back, the more paint you get. The less you pull back, the less paint you'll get. The next exercise is just going to be just a line. You'll push down, just checking the airbrush. You'll push down for the air, pull back for your paint. You're going to make a continuous line. It looks a lot easier than it is, but you're actually pushing down for the air, pulling back for the paint. And you can make these as thick or as thin as you want to as you go, but always remember when you're airbrushing, you're learning gun control, but you're trying to keep your distance away from the thing that you're airbrushing on, whether it be paper or canvas or plastic or metal. But if you get too close, it's going to spider web and basically bubble. If you keep your distance on an even level, you'll get a consistent line. The third one I'm going to do is a flare line. That's the hardest one. Most people have trouble doing, even in my classes. It consists of pushing down, pulling back, pushing forward. When you taper the trigger forward, it cuts off the paint and goes out to a small point. If you pop off the trigger, you're going to get a ball at the end. So always remember, when you're doing a flare line, you're going to push down, pull back, push forward. We'll do one. Push down, pull back. When you push forward, it's going to come to a point. And when you do that, you'll be able to do pretty much any illustration you want to. This is for eyelashes and eyebrows and so forth and so on, but it's perfect. This exercise here is probably one of the hardest ones to do, so it'll take a lot of practice. But remember, you'll push down, push back, pull forward, and that'll give you your flare line. The last one we'll do, I'll do two sets of them here. I'll go ahead and make a square for you. That way you can see it. When you're shading, you pull back just enough to get the paint to start coming out, and you'll go in and you'll shade. The key to shading is one thing. You don't want to see any lines. If you do like this, that's wrong. Anytime you're going to shade, you'll pull back just enough to get the paint to come out. You'll keep a consistent distance away from the material that you're using, and you'll make it shade in. That's the easiest way to do it. I'll go ahead and do one more here. And I'm only doing a square so you can actually see where the paint is going. I'm actually pulling back and pushing forward on the trigger to keep the paint to cut off on each end so that way it won't go over. But this is very essential when you're doing shading. If you watch, you'll see it going on. You won't see it come out of the gun, but you'll see it going onto the material. And that's the perfect way to shade. Shading is very easy. If you're going to do something like, I would say, I'll do a small sketch here. If you notice what I'm doing, I'm basically using the airbrush to draw. When people say sketch with an airbrush, what you're doing is you're using the airbrush to shade in. Once you get the initial shape, you can come in and start doing your artwork. But shading is very important. I can actually come in and start start creating a picture just right off the shading technique that I just started. The flare lines that I showed you, they're made for doing this. So the two most important exercises that you'll learn how to use is the flare lines and the shading. If you can master those, you can pretty much master anything with an airbrush.